Hi, my name's Siddhant, and this is Behind the Lens, the art of filmmaking. This documentary explores the world of filmmaking, showing the creativity, teamwork, and effort that goes into every single scene. It follows each step of the process, from the first idea to the final edit, revealing how filmmakers turn stories into something we can feel and imagine on the big screen. Movies are more than just scenes. They're carefully crafted by people who put all of their heart into every single detail. By focusing on directors, writers, actors, and the crew, the film highlights everything from shaping the story to capturing just the right moment for the big screen. It celebrates the long days, the small victories, and the passion that keeps each project moving forward. Viewers get a behind-the-scenes look at how movies are made and why filmmaking is a mix of art, skill, and technology. This documentary brings these stories to life, honoring the hard work and vision that goes into every single film. So, on the topic of filmmaking, what kind of films have you made?
So mostly my exposure to filmmaking is in the area of advertising. So what we do is a lot of advertising films and some other long form content in terms of explaining about the brand, etc.
So today we have Siddhant Bajaj here with us today. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Suvit. I work in marketing in a startup in India, and I've been working with large CPG companies in my career, heading marketing for various brands like Pepsi and Lay's, etc.
So, on the topic of filmmaking, what kind of films have you made?
So mostly my exposure to filmmaking is in the area of advertising. So what we do is a lot of advertising films and some other long form content in terms of explaining about the brand, etc. But largely it's to do with ad films, which is usually anything from a 10-seconder to a 30-seconder in terms of duration.
Alright, so in an ad film, what role do you play and what all roles are there?
So ad filmmaking, basically I have been representing the brand. So think of me as the brand manager on most of these brands that I'm talking about. And in terms of ad filmmaking, there are various roles, right? I think the most important thing in the case of advertising is that you need to get the script really, really tight. And the reason is because you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to communicate your proposition to the customers who are watching the ad. And you want to do that within a very short time span, about 30 seconds. So that's the key challenge. The script writing is where it all starts. The role of any advertising fundamentally is about it needs to engage the customer, which means if I suddenly see a bit of it, then I'm interested in watching more of it. Second important part that we keep in mind is that it needs to be entertaining, because that's where you get a little bit of virality and it gets distributed on its own organically. And the third thing is that it needs to of course be informative. So if you look at the three important things that need to be there in any communication, it needs to be engaging, it needs to be entertaining, and it needs to be informative. And getting all of this done in a 30-seconder or a 30-second time frame or even shorter is usually always the problem. So the work usually starts with a very sound script writing work, which is where we prepare those scripts, and then these scripts are handed over to a director. Now, there are a lot of parts of the activity of actually producing a film. There is a producer, there is a director, there is camera, there is lighting, there is costumes, there is cast, and then putting it all together. It's almost like a very large project that you manage. There are hundreds of people who are at a set usually. And each of them have their own roles. They are either looking at the set, or they're looking at the lighting, or they're looking at the camera, or they're dealing with the cast, or they're looking at costumes, makeup, etc., etc. So all of these pieces are pulled together. The other more important person in the entire thing is, of course, the director. The director is supported by this large team of people to be able to produce. The director and the scriptwriter usually work very closely together in how they see the film, and then it gets produced and rolled out.
So, could you give us an example of one of the films that you worked on, or what was your favorite film that you've made?
Yeah, so there are many, but there are various films for Pepsi that we've done in the past which were very, very exciting. Some of them were relatively smaller scale. So you do them, let's say, in a studio or in a house. And some of them are really large scale, which is that you get a cricket stadium and you actually shoot it at that cricket stadium. The work is the same, so I wouldn't say there is any difference in terms of the level of detail that you need to get that work done. It's, again, starts with the script, briefing the director, getting a production house in place, getting camera, lighting, cast, crew, makeup, costume, all of those pieces then come together. But I would say, I've done various relatively smaller scale as well as large scale films in my career.
Right. So, what would you say is one thing that is in the behind the scenes of a film that most people won't know about the behind the scenes?
Yeah, actually, we don't realize that it's actually a very time-consuming process. So what you see is a 30-second film, but it usually takes a couple of days to get every shot together. There are lots of retakes. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be assembled again and again and again to be able to get to craft what we need to craft. So it's the sheer scale and the number of people and the amount of work that goes into behind the scenes on a film that usually people don't see. You just see that 30-seconder, but there was somebody, creating that makeup, somebody working on the costumes, somebody working with the cast, lighting, and the camera, and then of course the director's vision of how he or she wants the film to look like. So the whole fact that you see a very small part of what actually gets produced, because you only take snippets out of what's got shot. Also, the directors various times tend to get the same shot done in multiple styles, and then they pick and choose out of those styles what they feel is best suited. So it's like the iceberg. You only see the top 10%, whereas the rest of the iceberg is hidden. The actual production is exactly like that. You don't see 90% of what got done, but you only see that 10%, which is the pyramid at the top.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, as you're both editors, could you just brief us about the post-production or the editing process of a film?
So, editing is basically the entire post-production process. In first, we receive the raw clips, and the raw clips are basically unwatchable by the viewers. So, first we organize all the clips, we do the cutting, and we join all the clips. Next, we do the color correction, because the raw clips we get from the camera, they're usually very, very bland in color. So we adjust the color palette depending on the genre of the film. And lastly, we add any special effects that are needed.
So here we have two members of the filmmaking club in my school. Could you introduce yourself?
So my name is Arav. I'm a member of the club called Director's Cut, and I'm an editor, and I also do visual effects.
I'm Aryan. I'm also part of the Director's Cut Club, and I've been editing for 5 years now.
So, as you're both editors, could you just brief us about the post-production or the editing process of a film?
So, editing is basically the entire post-production process. In first, we receive the raw clips, and the raw clips are basically unwatchable by the viewers. So, first we organize all the clips, we do the cutting, and we join all the clips. Next, we do the color correction, because the raw clips we get from the camera, they're usually very, very bland in color. So we adjust the color palette depending on the genre of the film. And lastly, we add any special effects that are needed.
So to add on to that, usually it really depends on what the director wants of the film. If they want the storyline to be quick, or you need to have a certain mood and you need to know what you want the film to look like. So some parts of the film are going to be quick paced, some parts are going to be slow. So depending on that, you adjust the mood and you adjust the cutting and the speed of the film.
Okay, so could you also tell us something that most people won't know about the editing or the post-production?
So I feel that many people think that editing, especially movies and all, is super hard and really difficult to learn. But it's actually just around maybe 3 to 4 weeks of good rigid learning. And after that, once you know the basics, it's mostly about creativity and effort. It's less about being hard, and it's more about unlocking your potential.
Well, adding on to Aryan, I personally mastered editing and the software called DaVinci Resolve in less than a month. And now I regularly use that software to upload my video edits to YouTube.
Okay, so using software such as DaVinci Resolve or After Effects, what all can you do to make a film better?
So it really depends on what you want to do. I feel you can really do anything, especially with DaVinci Resolve. After Effects is almost like a more premium version of DaVinci Resolve, but it doesn't have all of the features that DaVinci has. And whatever you want to do, if you want to add some fire, if you just want a simple film, you can do anything you like.
Well, the range of features that these softwares provide is absolutely amazing. It's like you can do anything you want, and these softwares just allow you to express your feelings what and your own personal editing style, and these softwares just provide you a medium to do that.
So, Arav, could you just brief us about the filmmaking process and the editing process?
So there's two parts of filmmaking. There's pre-production and post-production. Pre-production is your camera and filming and all that stuff. We won't get into that right now. So editing is the entire post-production process. There you receive the raw clips that have been filmed. First, you make them watchable for the viewer. You join the clips together. You delete the parts that are not required. Then you adjust the colors based on the genre and setting of the film. Next, you have the special effects and all the visual effects you want to have to make the film more interactive and interesting.
So, Aryan, do you have anything to add?
I think Arif covered most of everything, but I feel one thing is that whenever you're editing a film, it really depends on the director's focus or what he wants the film to express. There needs to be a certain mood, and also when you're, for example, color correcting, then there's something which makes the film stand out. It shouldn't be like other films, which is how films succeed.
So, what you're saying is the editing is what makes the film unique in terms of like the other films.
Yeah, basically, it's like the essence of the film. Brings out the plot.
So, Arav, what do you think is one thing that people usually don't know about the editing of a film?
So one very common misconception about video editing is that it takes years to learn. It is nearly impossible to do, and only the professionals with the highest amount of skill can actually edit proper films. But that is completely a myth, and any normal person can learn editing within a month or two. I personally learned DaVinci Resolve in less than a month. I mastered all the visual effects and all the workings of the software, and you just have to realize your own style of editing, and then you can edit any film you want.
And to add on to this, many people feel, especially movie making, it requires a super high budget, like Hollywood level films. But now more than ever, it's getting much easier to start making films on your own and start learning these skills which will be required in the future. Like me personally, I didn't pay any money, I didn't buy anything. I've just been using YouTube to learn, and it's been really great for me.
So, filmmaking is not the high tech thing that most people make it out to be. It's just your own individual creativity that ends up making a film good.
It really depends on how much you want to be an editor. It's the effort you put in.
So, now I've been hearing that software such as After Effects and DaVinci Resolve are very complicated and hard to learn, which is something that you're saying is not true.
Not
They're
true.
actually just based on the creativity that you bring to the table.
Have you ever tried using them? Do you think it's hard?
I've done a little bit in After Effects and I tried to do a little bit DaVinci, and it's not that hard, but at the same time it just depends on how creative you can be with the clips and the effects.
Well, Siddhant, you're an editor yourself. So according to you, what's the best part about editing, and what do you like the most?
I think the best part about editing is just the freedom that it gives you to do whatever you like with the clips, the text, the effects, all of it. You can just make up your own dream or whatever you want to.
I completely agree with that.
Even I do.
So Aryan, what inspired you to get into filmmaking and what inspired you to start editing?
That's a really nice question. And I feel that when I was really young, when I was in 2000, maybe 17, I used to play a lot of video games. And I would see these people doing this really revolutionary thing to me at that time, where they would put a song and they would sync the game to the song. And that was really cool to me. So I wanted to start to do that. At first, I was really limited by the softwares I used, but then I found more professional level softwares and I used that and I got better and better. And as I've grown up, that style has also evolved. So instead of making edits of games and all, instead I started to learn filmmaking through things like YouTube. Like I've never bought a course or anything. I've just been using YouTube whenever I have a doubt. I watch YouTube videos about filmmaking, about editing, and that has really helped me. So now I do like real life films and something with a plot. Like this club this year, the Directors Club Filmmaking Club, was really a big change that happened for me, which allowed me to kind of become better and kind of express myself through the films which I make.
So you made a short film on the movie Whiplash, and could you just tell us how that was like?
Yeah, so I really wanted to get more into movie watching because I was like, well, I'm getting into filmmaking. I should be watching films. So I saw Whiplash and it really stuck out to me because the pure passion that was expressed through that movie, like I could really resonate with that. And so I just wanted to put my own spin on the movie and I was wondering how I would do that. So I tried to kind of change the plot by altering the clips. As I said before, the clips really, the way they're edited, they express the plot of the film. So I tried to show a slightly different plot than the original movie, and that turned out to be a really good success. I'm really proud of that film now.
You have to figure out a way to entice the viewers. And most people think that the type of shots don't actually affect what the viewers think, but every shot can play with your emotions.
We have another member of the Directors Cut Club in my school. Could you introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Ranveer and I'm part of the pre-production team. So I work in all of the camera work.
So what does camera work entail in filmmaking? Like what do you do?
So as I said, camera work is a part of the pre-production. So mostly we follow the vision of the director. So whatever the director sees, all the type of shots that the director wants, whatever the director wants us to visually capture is what we follow.
So it's the director's vision that you cover in filmmaking.
Mostly, yes.
So what are some things that people don't usually know about filmmaking or the behind the scenes?
So many people think that filmmaking is just recording from camera, but it's not that. You have to figure out a way to entice the viewers. And most people think that the type of shots don't actually affect what the viewers think, but every shot can play with your emotions. For example, a shot from a higher angle can make a character look smaller and more vulnerable, but a shot from a lower angle can make the character look more taller and dominant. So it also plays with the emotions of the viewers. And another thing is people always think that they need an extremely expensive camera to start, but all you need is any camera. Doesn't matter how expensive it is. As long as you have a camera, you can film and you can express your emotions.
So it doesn't matter what setup you have, what camera you have. You can just be creative and have a good film without a very high budget.
Yeah.
So in your camera work experience, have you ever what's your favorite experience that you have had?
So I think that camera work is very dependent on working as a team. So you work with both the directors and the editors. Filmmaking is a process which consists of many things, pre-production and post-production. So in that you need to work with the editors as in a collaboration because one cannot exist without the other. The editor needs the clips to edit. One more thing that all filmmakers should be doing is that they should be giving editors that comfort of giving them enough clips so that they can also do their job.
So editing, camera work relies on the direction of the director and also giving and providing freedom to the editors to be free and be creative with their own vision.
Yeah.
So, my name is Joy Chauhan, and I've been in the business of advertising and media for almost 28 years. And I've worked with companies like India Today, Times of India, Grey Worldwide, McCann, JWT, which changed into Wunderman Thompson. And I run my own independent advertising agency for last 1 year.
So, could you describe the behind the scenes process of making a film from your experiences?
Behind the scenes is very important in filmmaking. It's the most critical part of filmmaking, or it's the most critical part of any production that you do. Uh, when we are producing something, when you're creating something, there are three very, very critical, areas. One
Yeah.
is the pre-production. and the other is production, and the third is post production. Okay, what is
Yeah.
pre-production predominantly? Pre-production predominantly is planning the whole thing. And that becomes a part of your behind the scenes, right? What you asked. What happens is it depends on what journey you want to take. What's your vision? What are you creating? It completely depends on that. The intensity of pre-production, but pre-production for any kind of production is the most important thing, which means that what kind of content do you have, which takes you to the area of what kind of script do you have in place. What is it? What is that that you want to create at a script level? What is it? So that's very critical. So a writer's part is very, very critical in any kind of commercial art, that we do, even performing arts. The writer part is very, very critical, and in the Western world, uh, they give immense importance to that, right? Uh, so from there everything starts. So depending on what is writer's vision, so what Rowling thought in the Harry Potter books, it was a challenge for the producer and for the executive producer to make it happen according to a
Yeah.
writer's imagination out there on the screen, right? It's not an easy
Uh,
thing to do because a writer is writing book a book, and he's writing or she's writing a script where she can take her mind anywhere and she can write anything. And now to make it happen in form is a very tough thing to do. But when you take it up, then what you pretty much ensure is that you 100% know what the vision is and how that vision will be translated in film. Pre-production will take care of what will your characters be like, what would they be wearing, what will they be, where will they be, how do their life is, I mean, what is their world. Everything has to be recreated. Then, of course, you actually film it according to that pre-production plan. You will actually film it. The actors will do their job, the director will do their job, and DOP will do their job, and they will make sure that is done and captured in a film.
yeah.
After that comes post production. Post production is when you know all the other elements come through, which is like editing, online offline editing. Then you'll do music, and then you will do special effects. You will do according to your script or whatever that you're doing. You're going to then do a lot of that to bring alive that story.
So, what do you find the most enjoyable in filmmaking, and what do you think is something that is quite challenging for you and every other filmmaker?
Everything about filmmaking is challenging,
Mm.
uh, right from a great script to convincing the people who are going to put behind the money, to convince them about your vision, and making it happen. That is challenging. And then from there on, everything is challenging. It all completely depends on what do you want to do, right? You say, no, I just want to do something, okay, okay, then nothing is challenging. But
Mm.
it all depends on what is it that you have set yourself out to do or to achieve. If it is quality that you want to achieve, if it is something that has not been done that you want to achieve, um, then everything is challenging. All of this is basically what you as a filmmaker or as a person you have set yourself to achieve. See, filmmaking is a coming together of many talents,
Yeah.
right? A writer, a director, a producer, executive producer, a director of photography, uh, a set designer, an art person, a costume designer, the special effects people, the editors, the musicians. A filmmaker, the director enjoys bringing that vision to life the most, right? A musician will enjoy music the most, but as a filmmaker, you have to enjoy each and everything. So those are the very anecdotal, small things that go behind the scenes.
From silent films to today's digital blockbusters, movies have entertained, inspired, and connected us across generations. Behind every great film is a team of passionate creators, Directors, writers, actors, editors who pour their hearts into bringing stories to life. It's a journey filled with challenges, innovation, and a relentless drive to push the limits of what's possible. But movies aren't just about those who make them, they're about those who watch, feel, and remember them. They spark emotions, start conversations, and leave a lasting impact. As technology evolves, so will the way we tell stories. But no matter how filmmaking changes, one thing stays the same. The magic of cinema will always bring people together, inspire new ideas, and keep us dreaming. The credits may roll, but the story of filmmaking never really ends.